Welcome back, everyone. It's been a minute since I have made a new video, but today I wanted to explore a topic I've been thinking about for some time. And that topic is, why are video games not fun anymore? It's been a few months since my last upload, and during that time, I've been really thinking about the gaming industry as a whole. It seems like most of the games made in the past couple of years have gradually faded into a sense of obligation rather than enjoyment. And I seem to be struck by just an overwhelming sense of apathy. Each new game promises new content, immersive worlds, and creative narratives. But it's clear that something fundamental has shifted, whether it's due to rising expectations or simply just an oversaturation of similar experiences flooding the market. What was once fun is now just frustration for me. And not long ago, gaming was my go-to escape. But that escape that I once had seems to have lost its magic. As the industry leans more into profit-driven decisions, it seems like many games are becoming generic and repetitive. The creativity that drew me in seems to be fading away. The sense of being able to enjoy a night of gaming with my friends, or to play a single-player game alone for a few hours to decompress, I find it very rare nowadays to be able to do that. Right now, it's all about flashy graphics and paywalls, with little room for real exploration or enjoyment. And both single player and multiplayer games seems to be stuck in this rut, and it's frustrating for me. So what happened to the joy that gaming used to bring? Have I just outgrown it? Or am I stuck in a loop where nostalgia makes me blind to today's games? And nostalgia can really mess with our heads, right? It makes us crave for those memories with older games, while sometimes overlooking the cool stuff new ones have to offer. But it's also a clear sign of how much gaming has evolved. Those past moments felt genuine. There was a thrill in playing a new game. I remember the joy of buying a new game without being bombarded by reminders to buy extra content or pre-order special editions for exclusive stuff on launch day. It seems like we're just longing for a simpler time when we could just jump into a game without worrying about navigating a maze of monetization and industry hype. Back then, gameplay was king. Developers focused on crafting worlds where we could truly lose ourselves, not just in hours spent playing, but emotionally invested as well. This nostalgia is amplified by how technology has changed the gaming landscape, making us reflect on what it means to play. And in this video, I'll touch on some recent titles that really deliver rewarding experiences, prioritizing gameplay over flashy cutscenes or endless DLC. And sure, some of these games that I'll mention do have extra content and cutscenes, but they always felt like nice bonuses rather than the main draw, like most of these AAA games. The focus was on innovation and not formulaic releases. And the gaming industry feels like it's stuck in a cycle of predictability. Big studios often stick to safe formulas instead of trying something new, leading to outcomes that just don't grab our attention like they used to. You see this trend across the board, whether it's the same old battle royale mechanics, ruling multiplayer, or the repetitive quest structures in RPGs that lack originality. Sure, familiarity can be comforting, but it also leads to complacency. Some franchises have their charm, and I cannot deny that. Those iconic characters and nostalgic gameplay keep fans coming back for more, but often developers cash in on that nostalgia with skins and content that play on our fond memories. Take Halo Infinite, for example. Players were tempted with Halo Reach skins locked behind a battle pass, aimed straight to longtime fans on release. That was Season 1 battle pass. Or Call of Duty, which keeps bringing back maps and skins from previous titles. Nuketown has popped up in at least 6 games, from Black Ops to Black Ops 6. Instead of feeling like a fun throwback, it starts to feel like lazy recycling, especially when they come with a price tag. When every new game feels like a rehash, it's tough to get excited about what should be groundbreaking releases. Developers are playing it safe and in a competitive market, and that cautious approach ends up stifling creativity and holding the industry back. So where are the unique gameplay experiences that pushed our boundaries, that made us feel truly invested? The industry seems to be so focused on meeting consumer expectations based on past hits that it often overlooks the need for real innovation. As players, we want developers to take some risks and step outside the box. Instead, we're getting mediocre gameplay paired with the main menu bloated with microtransactions. Microtransactions used to be a way to enhance our gaming experience, but now they often feel like roadblocks to enjoyment. Games that once rewarded our time and skill are now loaded with features designed to squeeze more money from us, making achievements feel a lot less satisfying. Unlocking content that used to be a part of the game now feels like more of making a purchase than earning a reward. Let's take Halo Reach for example. The armor progression system was awesome. Players could customize their Spartans using in-game currency, credits, earned through play. Now though, that's been overshadowed by battle passes and premium currency systems. This shift shows how microtransactions can chip away at the joy of gaming. What should be a fun journey often turns into a shopping experience. Imagine pouring hours into a game, only to hit a wall when paywalls pop up or exclusive content is locked behind extra fees. Instead of feeling proud after reaching a milestone through hard work, players are now bombarded with prompts to buy shortcuts. It's frustrating and totally undermines their effort and excitement. I can't finish a game of Halo Infinite without reminding myself that I cannot unlock a new color coat or a new helmet or anything of that regard without paying $20 in credits. So this push towards monetization creates an uneven playing field where not everyone can access all the game content unless they're willing or able to spend extra cash. And downloadable content was initially a fantastic idea. Extra content to extend our favorite game's lifespan, but now it often feels like we're paying for content that should have been included in the original release. The intention behind DLC has now warped into a cash-grabbing strategy. Instead of adding meaningful expansions to our experiences, some do, many developers seem to cut features from the base game just to resell them later. I specifically blame Destiny for this shift in the industry. It quickly became apparent that significant portions of content was locked behind paywalls after its initial release. The game just felt incomplete if you didn't play for a few months. As players found themselves needing to purchase expansions to access crucial storylines, raids, and other core gameplay elements that seemed like they should have been part of the base experience. And this approach set an example, making it seem acceptable for devs to withhold content and sell it separately, rather than fully delivering a complete game at launch. And this is also seen in Destiny 2. As a result, many players grew frustrated with this trend, feeling like they were being fleeced for content that had originally been a part of the game's vision. This practice has continued to influence other titles, leading to a gaming landscape where DLC often feels less like an exciting addition and more like a calculated strategy. And early access adds another layer to this issue. While it allows players to experience a game before its official release, it can also lead to incomplete products being pushed out prematurely. And some games thrive under this model, crafting experiences that evolve with community feedback. And it's a gamble, and too often it seems like players lose out. And to those that have watched my videos before, you know about this game. Satisfactory is a game that did early access right. It felt complete, and this allowed players to explore its mechanics fully while also receiving regular updates that enhance the experience without compromising the integrity of the game. The developers at Coffee Stain Studios have made a conscious effort to prioritize player feedback, creating a game that evolves in response to the community's desires. This approach has fostered a sense of trust and investment among players. Beyond just delivering a solid gameplay experience, Studio has embraced an innovative model of support through their website, where players can buy merch and adorable plushies. This initiative not only allows fans to show love for the game, but also provides a way to support the developers directly without resorting to microtransactions. By choosing to forego the typical pay-to-win model, they created an environment where players can contribute to the game's growth and success on their own terms. And that is amazing. This kind of transparency and commitment to the community is refreshing in today's gaming landscape, where many titles are bogged down by aggressive monetization strategies. Instead of feeling pressured to spend money on in-game purchases, players of Satisfactory are given the opportunity to support a passionate team creating a game they truly love. And this model fosters a loving dev community, making players feel like they are part of something larger than just a transaction. And this stands as a shining example of what can be achieved when developers prioritize the player experience and create a meaningful connection with their community. It's a reminder that games can be both profitable and player-centric, leading to a more enjoyable and enriching experience for everyone involved. And I think other developers should follow Satisfactory. They should follow Coffee Stain Studios and learn something from this, because they did early access right. And to those that used to watch my live streams, you will also be familiar with this title. Factorio stands out as a prime example of a game that not only embraced early access, but also delivered its DLC right 8 years later. Let me repeat myself. 8 years later, the devs took their time to refine the core mechanics and ensure the base game was solid before expanding it. The recent DLC, Factorio Space Exploration, introduces a wealth of new content and feels like a natural extension of the game rather than a part of the original game. Instead of simply adding more items or areas, this DLC expands on the original concept, allowing players to venture into space and explore new planets, bringing fresh challenges challenges and experiences to the table. And the update feels meaningful and well integrated, with the developers listening closely to community feedback throughout the process. This approach has also fostered a strong bond between the creators and the player base, reinforcing the idea that DLC can enhance rather than exploit. And amidst the sea of AAA titles, indie games have emerged as a beacon of hope for players seeking fresh and engaging experiences. Titles like Hyperlight Drifter and Balatro are a few of my favorites recently that showcase the creativity and passion of smaller developers or teams who pour their hearts into a game, literally. Indie developers frequently operate outside of the conventional framework imposed by larger studios, often unburdened by the corporate expectations or market trends. So this allows them to take risks that might seem daunting to bigger companies. This freedom creates an environment ripe for experimentation, encouraging them to explore unconventional narratives and gameplay styles that captivate audiences in unexpected ways. Let's take Hyperlight Drifter, for example. This game combines stunning pixel art with a rich, atmospheric world with a fantastic narrative, without even saying a single word. The absence of dialogue compels players to piece together the story through exploration and environmental cues, creating a deeply immersive experience that invites personal interpretation. Its challenging gameplay and emotional depth stand in a stark contrast to the often formulaic approach seen in many AAA titles, proving that you don't need a massive budget to create something profound. The origin of Hyperlight Drifter is also particularly compelling, rooted in the personal struggles of its main developer, Alex Preston. Remember when I said developers pour their hearts into a game literally? This is who I'm talking about. He created a game as a way to process his own experiences with health issues, specifically a heart condition that left him feeling vulnerable and reflective. And this background influenced the game's themes of mortality and the search for meaning in a fragmented world. The game's protagonist is depicted as a drifter seeking to uncover the mysteries of his world while grappling with the weight of his own existence. This parallel between the developer's life and the narrative adds a unique depth to the game, making each encounter and challenge feel charged with personal significance. By channeling his struggles into this project, Preston created a work that resonates with players on multiple levels. This game creates a sense of longing and exploration, inviting players to embark on their own journeys of discovery, and it's a powerful reminder that art can emerge from adversity, and that passion and personal experiences can lead to truly transformative gaming experiences as well. In this way, Hyperlight Drifter exemplifies the magic that indie games can bring, offering not just a play experience, but a heartfelt connection to its creator's story. And I'm looking forward to their next game. And similarly, Balatro offers a unique twist on the roguelike genre. Am I saying that wrong? Is it Balatro or Balatro? I swear it's Balatro. Blending card mechanics with classic dungeon crawling to create a poker roguelike. This game invites players into a world where strategy and luck intersect, demonstrating how indie developers can reimagine established genres to create something new and engaging. Each run in the game presents not just a challenge, but also an opportunity for unlocking new cards, high scores, and decks to play. It skillfully blends poker elements with a deck building structure. The simplicity of its rules, combined with the strategic depth offered by the various modifiers, creates an immersive experience. So for strategy game enthusiasts, roguelike fans, or even for those who have never ventured into poker, the title offers a rich, challenging, and above all, fun experience, promising hours of challenge and satisfaction. Because while the idea of a poker roguelike might sound like a niche game, the fun found within this game makes an absolute must play in my opinion. It breaks the rules of poker to score millions of chips in a single hand. It was truly rushing. And I was always chasing ways to push it even further beyond. While there are a few times that you might feel stubbed by the luck of the draw, the house always wins, by the way, these are wildly overshadowed by the moments where you hit it big. And no two games are ever the same, which is only one of the reasons why I love it so much. Sure, it's annoying if your run doesn't get off the ground, like I mentioned earlier. It's easy to fail early on if you can't get your hands on a good joker. But when you get in the swing of things, it gets addicting fast, it's simple and devious, and it is quite frankly brilliant. So by prioritizing player experience, indie developers are forging new paths in the industry, reminding us that sometimes playing a single-player indie game is often better than playing the next Call of Duty. I recommend playing the titles I mentioned today if you've not already. I'll be sure to link all of them in the video description. And nowadays, multiplayer isn't just about having fun with friends. It's about proving who's the best. While competition can be exhilarating, it also lends to an influx of players who take things way too seriously. Like I mentioned a few seconds ago, Call of Duty. It's a prime example of how perceptions have shifted. In the past, encountering a high prestige player in a lobby might have inspired awe and camaraderie for my younger self. I would have sent him a friend request to team up, excited by the prospect of learning from someone who had invested so much time into mastering the game. Now, however, the reaction has changed. It's often seen as a sign that the player has too much time on their hands instead of admiration. The sentiment might be, get a job, you spend too much time on this game, etc. The shift highlights how the competitive nature of gaming has morphed into a judgment on players' lifestyles rather than fostering a sense of community. This hyper-competitive environment often overshadows simple enjoyment as players focus more on stats than experiences. And sometimes content creators unknowingly influence this trend. Content creators wield significant influence over gaming culture, for better or for worse. In multiplayer games, their emphasis on high-level play often shifts the focus away from enjoyment, creating pressure for casual gamers who work a 9-to-5 to conform to a more competitive mindset. This dynamic is particularly pronounced in popular titles where streamers and influencers dominate the narrative surrounding gameplay strategies. So fans eagerly absorb that content that showcases impressive feats or tactics, reinforcing a culture of competition rather than camaraderie, like I mentioned before. So as players strive to emulate those high-level performances, many find themselves losing sight of a fundamental joy of playing, often prioritizing skill mastery over simple fun. And in single-player games, there's a persuasive notion that there's a best build or a fastest way to level up. This trend leads to checkboxes that players feel compelled to follow, reducing the joy that exploration once brought. Nowadays, if you buy a new single-player game, you're going to go on YouTube and search up the best way to level up or the fastest approach to do this. And I don't think that's fun at all. So that thrill of discovering secrets or crafting unique character builds can diminish when community consensus dictates an optimal path forward. People may rush through narratives or ignore side quests for fear of falling behind in comparison with others. This pressure creates an environment where deviation from established norms is discouraged. Players might hesitate to experiment with unconventional builds or strategies due to concerns about being judged by peers or missing out on the most efficient ways or best ways that are showcased by their favorite content creators. The community can feel less like a gathering of people who share tips and more like a place where only the best thrive, a place dominated by metrics alone. So where do we go from here? I think it's time to stop buying games that obviously prioritize profit over player experiences. I think that's a given. And right now, the gaming industry is often ruled by big companies that care more about their financial gains, what their quarterly Q1 earnings were, and this trend leads to repetitive gameplay, a flood of microtransactions, and a general feeling of dissatisfaction among people who crave more innovative experiences. And we have the power to demand better. As consumers, our choices directly influence which games get made and how studios allocate their resources. By consciously choosing to support games that focus on quality storytelling, immersive worlds, and engaging gameplay, rather than those driven purely by profit, we can encourage developers to put creativity ahead of corporate greed. Let's also make a point to support indie titles and smaller developers. They deliver unique experiences that larger studios might overlook or consider too risky. As we wrap up today, it's clear that the gaming industry is at a crossroads. A lot of recent titles have left us feeling pretty disillusioned and frustrated, but there's still a lot of hope out there, in my opinion. The challenges we're facing, from the same old releases to the overwhelming presence of microtransactions, should be a wake-up call for both developers and players, in my opinion. We need to remember the power we have as consumers, and we should support developers who prioritize fun over profit and seek out unique games that can bring back the joy that we used to feel, or at least I did. If anything we talked about today struck with you, drop your thoughts in the comments. What games have reignited your passion for gaming, and how can we all push for a positive change in the industry? And to those that have been watching my channel for just a little over a year now, I owe you all an apology. I've been AFK for a while, really just focusing on myself. So I just wanted to say thank you for reaching out to me. If you did, we'll be in touch. Peace out.